Здравствуйте, дорогие друзья! Добро пожаловать на наш сегодняшний семинар. Сегодня у нас очень интересная тема, очень полезная. Tips and tricks для подготовки к экзамену IELTS. Всем известно, что важно не только хорошо знать английский язык, но еще и потренироваться сдавать экзамен, да, уметь выполнять непосредственно задания, которые будут на экзамене. И Барбара нам сегодня расскажет свое видение этого вопроса. Вы можете задавать ваши вопросы в конце ее презентации в чате. В ходе выступления она вас также будет просить иногда отвечать на ее вопросы, тоже можно это делать через чат. Ну и, естественно, если у вас будут уже вопросы более личного характера, вы захотите пообщаться с кем-то из наших консультантов, пожалуйста, через любые формы обратной связи на нашем сайте вы можете записаться на консультацию. Итак, я передаю слово Барбаре. Barbara, please.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Barbara Mendez here from IELTS Toronto. I am the Director of Studies here, and today we have prepared a little IELTS workshop for you guys to give you an idea of the kind of instructions that we give when a student decides to join ILAC, especially the IELTS preparation course. What are the skills that we teach, and how can we help our students become successful and reach the scores that they need? Okay, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen so we can get started. And just a little bit of a Zoom instruction before we begin. I hope this is okay and everybody can see. There will be moments during this presentation that I will ask for your help. So just give me ideas or answers or anything that you think that could fit in these interactive parts. So you guys can use the chat box at any time to submit questions, or in this moment of interaction to submit your ideas. Okay, just go to the chat box. I have it open here. So not only I'll be delivering the presentation, but I'll be checking the chat box as well. All right, so welcome to the ILAC Kisses. These are our virtual workshops. This one, as we mentioned before, it's the tips for success for IELTS. So let me show you what we have planned for you today. We're going to start with a little over to you, very quick question. I just wanted to understand from the audience that we have here today, if you have ever had contact with the exam before. So I'm going to ask you a question and we can go to the chat box just so I understand how much you know about the exam, or if you have taken the exam in the past. Then we're going to go for very quick IELTS facts. I want to share some interesting numbers and interesting facts about IELTS nowadays in the market. Then we're going to go for the tips. So I brought tips on the reading part of the exam and on the listening part of the exam. So we will look at questions together, and I will show you how to apply the techniques and the skills that we teach our students to solve these questions and to more effectively work on the text and be able to manage the questions in the reading section and in the listening section of the IELTS test. And finally, in the end, there's a little conclusion. I brought some final tips and some information about our IELTS preparation course. So let's get started. Okay, please go to the chat box. You just have to type yes or no, okay? The question is, have you ever taken the IELTS test? And when I mean the IELTS test, can be anything related to IELTS, the official test, a preparation test, a practice test. Have you ever tried the test online, for example? So if you can go to the chat box, and if you have seen the IELTS test before, please type yes. If you have never seen the test before, please type no. All right, I'm getting some answers here. Perfect. It's pretty divided. I have a couple of no's, I have some yeses. All right, perfect. Okay. Awesome. And for the no's, so for you, for the students that have never experienced the test before, I hope this workshop gives you an idea of the skills and the strategies that you can use to see the exam with different eyes and to maybe feel more comfortable taking the test for the first time or starting a preparation like this. Thank you so much for your answers. Perfect. I got a lot of answers here. Awesome. And it's pretty 50-50, which is good. So for those of you who have taken the test, I hope I'm bringing new content for you and you learn new things. And for those of you who have never done it, welcome to the world of IELTS. And I really hope that this workshop helped you understand a little bit more about the test. All right, let's continue. All right, IELTS facts. By the way, these questions, you don't have to know the answer, okay? This is a guessing game. I just want to show you some facts about the exam. So back to the chat box, take a look at these two questions. Question number one, the IELTS test is available at more than, I don't know, how many locations around the world? How many places in the world do you think people take the IELTS test? 300, 750, 1,000, 1,200 places around the world. So take a look at these numbers. I don't know, it's a guessing game. You don't need to know the answer, but go to the chat box and try to give me an answer for number one. And then for number two is how many tests do you think are taken each year? So how many IELTS tests around the world are taken each year? Also, pick a letter, pick a choice, A, B, C, or D. Let's see if anybody gets this correct. I'm getting some ideas here. Thank you for your answers. All right, so we have, for number one, lots of people are saying letter C. So that the IELTS test is available at more than 1,000 locations worldwide, which is a big number, right? Okay, that is a good guess. What about number two? Some people are saying 1.5 million, I guess. Letter A, 3 million tests around the world, which is a huge number, but it's possible. I don't know. We'll check in a minute. I'm having more answers for 2C. Okay, so 750,000 tests, which is also a big, big number. Perfect. Let's check. Okay, let's sit together. Let's learn a little bit more about IELTS around the world. So, wow. Okay, IELTS test is available at more than 1,200 locations around the world. It's a big number. So it's a very popular test, right? This is what we want to convey. And over 3 million IELTS tests are taken each year, which is huge, right? It's a big, big number. Lots of people got it right. It's a lot, right? 3 million exams per year. It's huge. So it is a very popular test. It's growing in popularity because of different reasons, right? And let's look at one of the reasons. This is the final question. The question is, IELTS, the exam, is accepted for immigration to which English-speaking countries? So you have these options: Australia and Canada, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK, New Zealand and Australia, and Canada and the UK. Final guess. Go to the chat box. Give me your answer for number 3. Which countries in the world accept IELTS as proof of language in processes of immigration for new residents, new citizens. I'm getting so many B's here. Okay. 1A, Australia and Canada. Awesome. And B's. Okay. All right. Let's get this answer and let's understand another reason why the exam is getting bigger and bigger and popular nowadays. And you're right, it is B. So Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK accept IELTS as proof of language in an immigration process. So if any of you have a project, have a dream, have a plan to immigrate to an English-speaking country and you want to go through the process of immigration, one of the documents, the legal documents for your process will be an IELTS exam. So as proof of language. So it is a very important certificate. It's becoming more and more, not only for immigration purposes, but for higher education purposes as well. If you plan to study abroad in another English-speaking country or to come here to Canada, IELTS is definitely a recognized and established language proficiency certification. And you'll be able to do lots of things with your IELTS, being starting a new graduate program, undergraduate program, immigration purposes, even for employment purposes. It is a great asset to your resume, right? So perfect, awesome. Now you know a little bit more about the exam. Let's start with our tips. Focus on reading. So before we begin, just so you know, IELTS is divided into 4 parts. You have the reading test, the listening test, the writing test, and the speaking test. So in a preparation course, we teach skills and we teach the exam per se for all the 4 parts of the test, right? In this workshop, because of our time limits, we're just going to be focusing on reading and then a little bit of listening. I want to show you what kind of information we share with our students, of course, in a brief way, but just so you guys understand how a class, how a test preparation class feels like. Okay, so let's get started with reading. One thing that we teach our students is that it is very important to develop skills, right? So of course, that the more English you study, the more language you know, more successful you'll be and comfortable you'll be taking the test. But it's very important to also develop your skills. Not only focusing on language, vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, but also focusing on what you can do with the language. It's extremely important for exam preparation. So we teach different kinds of reading. We all traditionally read. We get a text, we look at it, and we try to interpret and we try to understand. But for test taking preparation, there are some skills and there are some techniques that we can teach our students to perform better. And these are very traditional reading skills. These are very common reading skills that we teach our students. They're called skimming and scanning. So, and they are different kinds of reading. During the test, during the reading test, you will be alternating. You'll be using these 2 skills all the time to be able to finish the test in proper time, work with your time management, and have a more effective test-taking experience, right? So the skimming skill is when you read something really quickly, like you just surface read. You don't stop at the words that you don't know. You don't look for deep details. You just read really quickly, okay? You just go for it. Because the idea of the skimming is to give you the main idea of that text or that part of the text. You can skim a paragraph, for example. So you just read that part really quickly just because you want to understand what is that about? What is the main idea? Okay. Scanning, on the other hand, is a different reading technique. And when you scan a text, you're looking for a specific information. So you also read fairly quick, but you're looking for something in particular. For example, we do that naturally, and we do that all the time when we get our phones and we open our contacts and we're looking for someone's phone number or someone's contact. So you scroll your list, you're looking at your whole list, but you're looking for something in particular. You're looking for one person, and then when you find it, it's over. So this is scanning. This is what scanning is all about. So for test taking skills and to be able to navigate the questions in a comfortable way, our students, they take turns skimming parts, scanning words, skimming text, scanning keywords to be able to answer the questions, okay? So what I brought today is a little demonstration on how to use these two reading skills to answer the reading, one kind of the reading questions that we have. So this is a traditional multiple choice. Okay, so IELTS is a very diverse exam. They have different kinds of questions, but multiple choice is very common. You will always find a multiple choice in an IELTS test, no matter if it's in the listening passage or the reading passage. You will always find a multiple choice question to answer. And when we're working with multiple choices, we can apply both techniques. We encourage our students to scan and skim to be able to find the answers. So I brought a little step-by-step. I'm going to demonstrate this one. And then I brought an extra question so you guys can try and feel if and see if it feels good and see if it feels effective. Okay. So this first question, of course, I cut the paragraph because when you open the IELTS test, you'll see a long passage, a long text, right? But here, just to fit on our slides, I already cut the paragraph and I cut the question so you guys can compare, okay? Young children are making criminologists nervous because, that is the question. And then you have alternative A, B, and C. So just by reading the question, I know that this is probably a text about crime, about young children, about maybe the social situation of a place, regarding crime and I don't know, young people. So I start by reading the question first. I start brainstorming what this is about, what is the topic, what kind of words am I going to read. Good. And the very first step is to use keywords to connect the sentence to the passage, to connect the question to the text. And then we teach our students how to find the keywords. The keywords are usually the most important information. The keyword is, what do I have to pay attention to, right? So if you look at this question here, question number 1, and now you guys are gonna see the keywords popping on the screen. Young children and criminologists, which are people who study crime, right? I have to find the connection between these two items in the text, right? So when I go back to read my text, I'm gonna search for keywords that connect with young children. And I'm gonna search for keywords that connect to criminologists. So let me look at the text. If you start reading the text, I already highlighted it for you just for the demonstration. The very first sentence mentions exactly what's in the sentence. So you have, they're just 4, 5, and 6 years old right now, but already they're making criminologists nervous. It even repeats the word criminologists and the word nervous, right? So that's why I scan. I scan to connect the question to the passage. Because after I'm able to do this connection, I know that my answer for that question is here. So now what do I have to do? I have to skim the paragraph. Remember that skimming is a quick read. It's a surface read, just because I want to get the main idea. Because with the main idea in my head, I'm able to find the best answer. Okay, so then I would give some time for us to read the paragraph right? They are growing up too frequently in abusive or broken homes with little adult supervision and few positive role models. Left to themselves, they spent much of their time hanging out on the streets or soaking up violent TV shows. By the year 2005, they will be teenagers, a group that tends to be, in the view of Northeastern University criminologist Jane Ellen Fox, temporary sociopaths, impulsive and immature. If they also have easy access to guns and drugs, they can be extremely dangerous. So they're talking about a social issue here. That is the study of this criminologist. And what they're saying is that the young children in the future, if they're not given the conditions to have a good life, to have probably role models, education, things that are important, if they're just left on the world on their own, they can become criminals. So this is what this passage is saying, right? So take a look at the question again. Young children are making criminologists nervous because A, they're committing too much crime. The kids are committing crime? That's not what the passage says. So I don't use this one. They are impulsive and immature. When I read, okay, I find these two words in the text, impulsive and immature, but they're not talking about the kids. Teenagers are impulsive and immature. That's what the text says, right? So I also don't use B because B, the question is about young children and not teenagers. Then I go to C. They may grow to be criminals, grow up to be criminals. And take a look at the use of language. They say may. May in English gives a possibility of something to be happening, right? It doesn't say that every kid that will grow will become a criminal. It's not what the passage says. Children in specific circumstances may grow to become criminals. That's exactly the message of that paragraph. So it is alternative C. All right. So again, this is a method of taking a look at multiple choice questions. First, we get keywords to connect with the passage. Once we find the keywords and the connection, we skim, we read to understand the main idea, and then we choose the best option. Okay, let's take a look at another question here. This is our final reading question, but I just brought this one for you guys to do this process. Okay, I'm going to guide you through the step by step, and then you see if you find the answer and if you feel comfortable taking the test this way. Okay, so step number one, use the keywords to connect the sentences to the passage. A tip here: names, cities, dates, the name of products, name of people, the names in general. Names are excellent keywords, right? Because, for example, in a passage that multiple people have been interviewed or they quote different people, it's really useful to memorize the name of a person because of the question that you have to answer, and then go back to the text and scan, just like we do with our telephones for the phone contact. Scan the passage for the name of the person who needs to focus on. Okay, so names are excellent keywords. And this is a question with the name. So question number 7 is, Jonathan Kosal believes that, and then we have 3 alternatives, right? So what I would do when I see the whole test in front of me, I would quickly scan to look for this name. The first time I see Jonathan Kosal in the text, I stop. I stop scanning, right? Because I know that when I find his name, I know my answer is going to be there, right? In that part of the text. So what I do, of course, for the sake of this workshop, I already cut the paragraph for you. It would be paragraph 5, so in the middle of the text. And here is the keyword. The keyword is the name, and I find the keyword in the text. That's the scanning process, okay? Now that I found the keyword through scanning, I'm going to skim that paragraph. I'm going to read that paragraph from the beginning until the end very quickly, just so I can get the main idea. What is this person saying? Because the question is, Jonathan Kozol believes. So what does he believe? This is what I have to understand. After I do this, I'm able to look at the options and find the best one. All right. So I'm going to give you guys some time to read the paragraph. If you want to try, you can send it to me in the chat box if you think it's alternative A, B, or C. And we can check in 2 minutes. Perfect. I'm getting some answers here. Thank you very much. Very good answer. Perfect. Thank you. Another one. Great choices, you guys. You guys are giving me great. You guys are giving me great examples here. Great samples. Great answers. Let's do this together then. Okay. If you continue reading the paragraph, I've already highlighted here the most important quote, because there are 2 quotes from the author. He's an author, okay? He's studying poverty and crime in a specific area of the South Bronx. So this is a person that is deep in the subject, studying what happens to these kids. And this is a very important sentence. There is a dramatic increase of children in foster care, and that's a very high risk group of kids. We're not creating new jobs, and we're not improving education to suit poor people for the jobs that exist. By reading this sentence, what do we get? What is the idea that the author is trying to convey? Letter A, there is no solution to the problem. It doesn't, if he mentions education and jobs, it doesn't seem like there is no solution, right? I don't think that's the case. The employment and education are not the answer. The way he says, it's like there are kids, they are in a group of, it's a risky group, they are high risk group of kids, and we're not creating jobs, and we're not improving education to suit them for the jobs that exist. So if he's talking that we don't do these things, it means that we don't do enough. That's why the group is in risk, right? It seems that these are the answers. These are the solutions to the problem, right? So I don't think B is the correct answer. But if you read C, employment and education can improve the situation, right? The would-be solutions to this problem. It's not that we're having the solution, because the author says that we're not doing this thing, but they would be possible solutions. And you guys are right, because most of you sent me C as an alternative. So good job, you guys. By the way, more importantly, in the very stage of exam preparation, more importantly than getting everything right from the get-go, which doesn't happen, by the way, because it needs practice and study and efforts. But more importantly is applying the techniques, using these techniques to feel more comfortable doing the exam, okay? Very good. I brought a little recap, a little summary of the tips. So read the multiple choice questions first. If you have a multiple choice question, go for the question first. Then you read the text, right? Find the keywords so you can locate the answers in the paragraph. Scan the text to locate the keywords. Once you find the paragraph, skim the text. So read it like a surface read, just for you guys to get the idea of that paragraph, and then choose the best answer. And remember the final tip: dates, names. When you see the name of someone in a text, they're great keywords to connect the questions to the paragraphs of the text. All right. And I brought a really quick listening practice for you. So most likely we'll be spending, I would say, less than 10 minutes together, roughly 5 to 8 minutes, just to go over the listening tips. Because what I can tell you about the listening exam, and I know that lots of students sometimes struggle with listening. They say that it's the most complicated part of the test. But what I can tell you about listening is that it's all in the preparation, right? No matter the part of the test, there is always some time to prepare. You're listening to the instructions, and you'll notice that they'll say, now you have 1 minute, or now you have some time to look at the questions and prepare. Uh, the thing is that, what do we do with that time? What do we do with that preparation? This is exactly what we teach, how to prepare more effectively. So when you get to listen, your brain is focusing on exactly what you need to get, on the information that you're looking for. Okay, so these are the skills that we traditionally teach for preparation. Prediction: we study the data, we study the question, we look for grammatical clues. So if we have gaps, we try to understand, what is that gap? Is What do I need here? Do I need a verb? Do I need a noun? Do I need a number? Do I need a specific name? So we try to understand um, the um, the details. Okay. Then we will try, and I'll show you how to prepare for section 1, for example. So section 1 would be this very first part of the listening test. It's usually a completion. It's usually a summary completion. And when I say usually, because it can change, it can vary, but what is a summary completion? You have a table, you have some sort of visual organization of information, and then you have the gaps. And these are the gaps that you have to listen and complete. Okay. So for a question like this, we would teach our students to start predicting the gaps, right? So we look at the table. First of all, we read the instructions. Write one word only. So now I know that each gap needs one word. Then look at the table. Look at the information that you have. Festival information. Then it's the time to start thinking of a festival. What is a festival? What kind of events do I see in a festival? Then you read the type of event. There's a concert, there's a ballet, there's a play. Gap number 3, I don't know the type of event, but it's something show. And when I do this with my students, I usually ask, okay, how can you guys complete this before listening? Usually I get answers like, for this, I've done this before with my students, they would say, oh, a comedy show, a circus show, a dance show, a music show. And then they start giving me ideas, right? This is called prediction. We're trying to anticipate, we're trying to predict the answer before we listen, right? So for questions 1 and 4, for example, we have company called in the details column, company called in a gap, and the show is called in number 4 in a gap. So I need 2 names, right? Because if I need to put the detail of how these shows and companies are called, I need their names. And another tip about IELTS, every time you have to transcribe a name, they will spell it for you, okay? Because you need to know, these are names, right? Nobody needs to know how to write names. Names are international, they're different. So make sure that you follow how they spell, okay? And finally, number 2, it's also possible to apply prediction. There's a play, and the play is a comedy called Jemima, has had a good, and then students try to guess. A play has a good what? And then they give me ideas. A good cast, a good performance, a good reputation, a good comments about it, a good soundtrack. I don't know. They start giving me ideas. We brainstorm the ideas, and then we listen. Because when you do this preparation by yourself in the preparation time, in a really quick way, because you really have to do it fast, and you learn how to do it fast because you get used to the process, right? Once you do that, you can target. When you're listening, you can focus on the listening parts. I would just like to ask, because of time management, to Tati and Anastasia, do we have 5 extra minutes to practice this little listening part and I can give them the answers? Or would you like me to recap the listening tips?
Yes, it's okay. I guess you can use
Can we
some
do
more
it?
time. Yeah, it is
All right,
important that we finish the whole webinar by 10 minutes to 6. So we have
perfect.
maximum of about 15 minutes.
This is like a 5 extra minutes practice. Awesome. Because I want them to try now. Now that we look at every single gap, let's take a look at the real listening and see if you guys can do that. So now it's the time to get ready. Make sure that you have your earbuds or headsets just for a better quality of the audio. Also, we encourage students to get paper and pen or pencil just to write down the answers, especially because of spelling. Spelling is really important before you submit, okay? So let's do this. Let's listen. Focus on the names, the name of the company, the name of the show, the event on the 20th, and something about that play, the play Jemima. All right, let me share my computer sound and let me go straight for the question so we can practice.
Of the 17th.
Oh, I heard about that.
Good morning. You're through to the Tourist Information Office. Tim speaking. How can I help you?
Oh, hello. Could you give me some information about next month's festival, please? My family and I will be staying in the town that week.
Of course. Well, it starts with a concert on the afternoon of the 17th.
Oh, I heard about that. The orchestra and singers come from the USA, don't they?
They're from Canada. They're very popular over there. They're going to perform a number of well-known pieces that will appeal to children as well as adults.
That sounds good. My whole family are interested in music.
The next day, the 18th, there's a performance by a ballet company called Eustatis.
Sorry?
The name is spelled Eustatis. They appeared in last year's festival and went down very well. Again, their program is designed for all ages.
Good. I expect we'll go to that. I hope there's going to be a play during the festival. A comedy, ideally.
You're in luck. On the 19th and 20th, a local amateur group are performing one written by a member of the group. It's called Jemima. That'll be on in the town hall. They've already performed it 2 or 3 times. I haven't seen it myself, but the review in the local paper was very good.
And is it suitable for children?
Yes. In fact, it's aimed more at children than at adults. So both performances are in the afternoon.
And what about dance? Will there be any performances?
Yes, also on the 20th, but in the evening. A professional company is putting on a show of modern pieces with electronic music by young composers.
Uh-huh.
The show is about how people communicate, or fail to communicate with each other, so it's got the rather strange name, Chat.
I suppose that's because that's something we do both face-to-face and online.
That's right.
All right. Okay. Perfect. So just so we can save some time, hopefully you managed to get some of these answers. I am going to give you guys the answers now. Let me open my annotation tool and my text box. All right. So the name of the company is Eustatis. It's a name, right? Doesn't mean anything. I mean, I don't know the meaning, but it's Eustatis. Eustatis. Then when they talk about the play, Jemima, the comedy, it has had a good review, right? It has had a good review. The last event is a dance show, right? And the name is very strange because the name of the dance show is Chat. All right, Chat. So I don't know if you got it right, if you got some right, but this is the exercise and this is what we do with our students. We try to develop the skills first, give them all the tools that they need to then start working on increasing their scores and their overall production, because it is very important to know the exam and to be prepared, right? So these are my final tips for you guys. Let me clear the drawings first and let me go for the recap. When it comes to to listening, read the instructions first and the questions carefully. Write no more than one word or number per answer, because if of course the instructions says so. Instructions in IELTS, it's something that you have to be really careful about, because it changes all the time. Sometimes you have instructions for 2 questions and new instructions for 3 questions and new instructions. So make sure that you're always paying close attention to what you have to do, to the instructions of the exercise. Use your prior knowledge. So with time, make sure that you're looking at the questions and asking questions. What is it about? What can be here? What can I expect from the listening, even before you get to actually listen to it? Write down things on paper first, especially to be careful with spelling of the words, and check grammar and spelling before you submit your answers. And these are my final tips. Of course, it's important to work on language. The more English you learn, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, the more content you have, easier it is to understand the questions and navigate. But as important as language, when you decide to take a test, is to understand the test. What is the test about? What are the different questions? What do they want me to do? So test knowledge is really, really important. Your preparation skills. So how much do you know about the test? What skills do you have? Do you know how to use your preparation time? Do you know how to organize your ideas? All these things are very, very important. Your time management, because the test is timed. You have, for example, for the reading, you have 1 hour. For the listening, you have approximately 30 minutes. So just make sure that you're using your time wisely. And the note-taking skills, right? How organized can you be when you're taking the test can definitely change your results, okay? These are my final tips. If you're interested and if you would like to learn more about the IELTS preparation course at ILAC, there's this email, IELTS@ilac.com. We also have our pathway program, which is our English for Academic Purposes program. We also use IELTS in our English for Academic Purposes program. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. This morning here in Toronto. I think it's in the afternoon there for you guys. Thank you so much. I am going to stop sharing my screen. Let's go. Tati, I think you want to say something here?
Thank you very much, Barbara. К нам также присоединилась Татьяна, которая хотела бы с нами быстренько еще поделиться информацией об онлайн-курсе подготовки к IELTS, который можно взять у канадской школы ILAC.
Спасибо, Анастасия. Спасибо компании Untitled за приглашение. Барбара, ты меня вдохновила. Может быть, тоже сдать IELTS, если нужно. Хотелось воспользоваться возможностью, кто решил пройти подготовку к IELTS и сдавать экзамен и воспользоваться программой подготовки в нашей школе. У нас есть прекрасное сейчас предложение в ноябре. Это поможет вам не только сэкономить ваше время, да, потому что, как Барбара уже упомянула, программу подготовку IELTS можно брать у нас есть 5 временных интервалов, можно выбрать любой временной интервал, что поможет вам эту программу подготовки к IELTS скомпоновать с вашим ритмом жизни. Прекрасное предложение в ноябре сейчас. Если вы бронируете 6 недель, вы получаете 2 недели в подарок. Если вы бронируете 8 недель, вы получаете 4 недели в подарок. То есть получается очень выгодно. И второй момент, мы рады поделиться с вами, у всех наших слушающих разный уровень английского языка. Сейчас мы предлагаем подготовку к IELTS 6 уровня, это Intermediate. Наш академический отдел работал очень много, чтобы создать учебный план, который подходит для студентов не только с высоким уровнем, которые планируют готовиться к IELTS, уже добрать высокий скор, но и также для студентов, у кого уровень еще выше среднего, средний уровень. Такая возможность тоже сейчас существует. За всей подробной информацией по курсу IELTS и по продолжительности можете обратиться к нашим официальным представителям в России, компании Untitled Chapter. Спасибо большое, Анастасия, спасибо большое компании Untitled Chapter.
Спасибо, Татьяна. Если у наших слушателей есть какие-то вопросы, вот буквально пару минут мы можем еще этому посвятить. Так что, если у вас есть какие-то вопросы, пишите в чате или вот в этой секции вопрос-ответ. Если нет, ну тогда, соответственно, мы будем с вами на сегодня прощаться. Так, вопросов не вижу. Вижу thank you, goodbye, спасибо большое. Хорошо, спасибо всем, кто к нам присоединился. Thank you again, Barbara, for your interesting presentation. И до встречи. Ждем вас на следующих наших семинарах. До свидания.